Well, we're talking about the Indian consumer now, and as the economy slows and the Indian rupee falls, some analysts say the traditional Indian consumer might be feeling a bit tapped out. My next guest, though, says there is a solution to this look for growth from the fringe. Here to explain, Dheeraj Sinha, Regional Planning Director Asia at Bates. He's joining me now live from Hong Kong. Now, Dheeraj is also, of course, the author of Consumer India Inside the Indian Mind and Wallet. Dheeraj, you know, as we were just chatting about, it was a few months ago now, closer to the start of the year, that we last chatted. Let me ask you straight away, what's changed for the Indian consumer over the last 12 months or so, given the confluence of events that we've seen, and in particular the euro debt crisis?
Yeah, of course, you know, the environment has had its own toll on the India growth story. But we must realize that the India growth story is more people-driven rather than policy-driven, if I might say so, as it's in case of China. So the India growth story is going to continue. There is opportunity in India to look beyond, I would imagine, the mainstream consumer. So if you look at the most targeted sort of age band in India, it's people in the age band of 25 to 45. And the last 2 years, most of the brands and businesses have spent time understanding that consumer. But below the age of 25, there are about 200 million youth in India waiting for brands and businesses designed to target the real youth rather than 45-year-olds who want to feel youthful. Similarly, above the age of 45 years, there are about 350 million people who are the mature consumer, and they're looking for brands and businesses in the space of technology, which is easier to use and less gizmo-like. They're looking for retirement solutions. They're looking for housing for retirement and so on and so forth. Similarly, if you look at the market sort of pyramid, the top end of the market in India is coming of age. So Audi in 2011 scored 83% growth over 2010 in the premium segment. Similarly, the bottom of the pyramid in India is taking off in a big way. But the insight with the entry-level consumers or the bottom of the pyramid is that the bottom of the pyramid wants to be top in status. So they don't just want to buy cheap products, but they want to buy products which have value but also high-end imagery.
You know, what I find very interesting about this, you know, talking about the bottom end of the market, as you were just describing, is that you would imagine that these consumers don't have a lot of spare cash to actually go and spend on products. But I have done some reading, and from some of your research, it sort of indicates that, you know, instead of buying, for example, a big bottle of a premium end shampoo, they'll buy small sachets. So they are still using those goods that I guess the higher income earners are using as well, just on a smaller level.
Yes, you know, at the bottom end of the pyramid, the desire to live a life which is far more sexier, far more glossier, is much higher, because the media which is getting beamed to our houses are also getting beamed to their houses, and therefore those aspirations are going up. What has helped is that packaging of premium goods in smaller sort of SKUs has helped them to get access to these brands. So this whole idea of what I call the access brands, which give bottom-end consumers access to categories that they would otherwise not been able to do. So case in point being, say, Micromax mobile phones. So they are bringing high-end smartphones in India at prices far below a Samsung or Nokia would be able to bring it. And they're a big hit in the small town and rural consumers.
So is the consumer place where the money needs to be spent? Is this the consumer space, rather, where the money needs to be spent for these companies to start making more money?
Yes, I think the bottom end of the pyramid is where the money needs to get spent. There are categories like FMCG which are growing. There are categories like automobile in smaller towns and rural markets which are doing really, really well. But brands and businesses need to figure out their priorities, because everybody's right now just focused on the mainstream middle class, middle income segment, and it's almost become a herd mentality.
So you believe, Dheeraj, that the global financial round that we have seen over the last 12 months or so, and even prior to that, has not changed the spending habits of the Indian consumer in any drastic way?
Yeah. I think broadly, I would say, of course, the macroeconomic parameters are down, so growth is going down, inflation is up. In a broad sense, the sentiment is definitely being hit. But what we need to understand that in India, it's the people who are driving the change and the growth. So even as we speak, it's the people power and the lobby of the business class, if I might say, who's pushing the government to clean up the system, who's pushing the government to bring in reforms. And my sense, therefore, is that these glitches are more short-term in nature. In a long-term basis, the India growth narrative is pretty much intact. And it's these pockets of opportunity like the small town and rural, like the premium segment, the real youth and the maturing consumer who's going to drive growth in, so to say, the next few years. And that's where we need to focus in a huge way.
Who stands to benefit, Dheeraj?
I think the consumer stands to benefit because finally they get a better lifestyle. The economy will be powered more and more by people and consumers than by the government, and in turn that is going to impact business and brands.
Okay. All right, Dheeraj, really good to have you with us today. We do appreciate your time once again.
Thank you so much.